Hi, very good evening. Right, so today we're planning this textbook discussion in this format. Since we have these images and all, so I'm trying this. So we'll have images here, illustrations here, and then we'll proceed with textbook discussion. And this session we'll be planning, like we'll be discussing only the posterior triangle. Initially I planned both anterior and posterior triangles, but anterior triangles we have a lot many key points to discuss, right? So I didn't want to rush up. So we're taking, for the past few live sessions, we have been taking more than 2 hours to complete one live session. So this session will complete only posterior triangle, right? Anterior triangle will again take up next time. So posterior triangle, the contents and also the boundaries, all this stuff will complete off, and then at the end of the session, we'll have a brief, few questions, few multiple choice questions, maybe around 5, and then we'll conclude and we'll try to complete off the session within 1 hour. Because again, tomorrow morning we have a live session at 5 a.m., right? So this should not influence the outcome of the tomorrow's session at 5 a.m., right? So once again, a very good evening. So today has been so hectic, and it was like a kind of different feelings, mixed feelings for me altogether, right? So I was in doubt whether I would start this live session, but thankfully, so I'm doing so, right? So a very good evening once again. So we'll have this textbook discussion simultaneously, and also we'll go through the illustrations on board, right? So I hope you're following either Chaurashia or you have your own books, right? So, or you can even follow this grants anatomy if you have the soft copy, or the atlas at least. You can just go through the images and then we'll try to briefly summarize various key points. Okay. And also let me know if there are any issues with screening. And regarding our site e-classes, we have been facing the issue from morning. Maybe around 12 p.m. or 12:30 p.m. I think the issue started around that time. So right now it's working fine, and once I get confirmation from my technical team, I'll let you know regarding the status of the issue. It seems to be resolved. In fact, I got a mail at 5:30 saying that the issue has been resolved, but still after getting the mail for 2 hours, the issue still persisted. But now it seems to be fine. Anyways, I'll just intimate you if at all there are any issues. If at all there are any persisting problems regarding this accessing the site. And also you need to clear your browser history and cookies in order to access the site now. So you have to clear your history and cookies and then try accessing. If you have any issue further, you can just drop a mail. I'll take care of it. Okay. Yes, Ramesh, hope you have cleared your browser history and cookies, and I have replied to your mail also. Right. So, a very good evening once again. Hi Shrish, hi Regina, hi Anu, hi Nidhi, hi Deepthi. So, hearing from you after a long time, I guess, maybe after a week. Hi Neetu, hi Megha, hi Abhishek, hi Preeti, hi Zina, hi Sajid, Ashutosh, hello. Hi Prithvi, hi Sheena, hi Fauzia, Pritika, Ramesh, hi, a very good evening. Hi Saida, right. Hi Minnie, a very good evening. Hi Vinoda. Yeah. Yes, Ramesh, maybe you can just change the browser and then try again. Okay. Right. Anyways, I'll just update you regarding that later. Okay. Once we complete the live session. Yeah. So today we'll be discussing about the posterior triangle, right? So posterior triangle, as you can see, it is present behind the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So we'll discuss about the boundaries of this posterior triangle and also the contents, and also the vasculature, various neural components, right? Various veins which are present, including the lymph nodes. And also we'll try to focus on different set of muscles we have in the posterior triangle. And at the end, as I said, we'll have few MCQ discussions as well. So posterior triangle, so the posterior triangle is a space on the side of the neck situated behind the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So as you can see here, this is the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So behind the sternocleidomastoid muscle, on the side of the neck, we have this posterior triangle. And the boundaries of posterior triangle include the following. So we have anterior, posterior, medial, lateral, superior and inferior boundaries, right? So any given triangle, so we need to study them accordingly, right? So just give me 1 second. Yeah. So coming to the anterior boundary, so as you can see here, the anterior boundary is being formed by the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid, okay, and the posterior boundary is being formed by the anterior border of trapezius muscle. So this is sternocleidomastoid muscle, this is trapezius muscle, and this is hyoid bone, where you have superior belly and inferior belly, right? So the inferior belly of inferior belly of omohyoid muscle divides the posterior triangle into a large upper occipital triangle and a small lower subclavian or supraclavicular triangle. And these are the anterior and posterior boundaries, as you can see. And if you look at the inferior or base, the inferior border is being formed by the middle third of the clavicle. So this is clavicle and this is sternal head. So the middle third of clavicle forms the inferior border. And apex, it lies on the superior nuchal line at a point where sternocleidomastoid and trapezius meet. So these are some of the boundaries of posterior triangle. And also, as I mentioned, inferior belly of omohyoid divides the posterior triangle into a large upper occipital triangle and a small or lower supraclavicular or subclavian triangle. So we'll just go through the contents given in roof and floor, and then we'll proceed with the contents of posterior triangle, where we have a table where we'll try to focus on the contents. Okay. So coming to the roof, is it breaking? Okay, Gina, Ashina, Megha. Hi Bernice, good evening. So is it breaking again? Okay, then in that case just give me 1 second. We'll cross check it. Just let me know, each one of you who are live, just let me know whether it is streaming fine or is it breaking. I'll also cross check in the meantime. Okay, Vinoda, Deepthi, Abhishek, Prithvi. Okay, for you it's fine. Okay. Even for me it seems to be streaming fine. Yeah, anyways, do let me know if the problem is still persisting, because most often we have these network issues. Yeah, but for me and for few of you I think it's fine, right? Offline. Ashina, just let us know which device are you using. If you're using an app, try closing the app. Okay, try closing the app completely and then reopen it. If you're using a browser, better if you can use a Chrome, Google Chrome browser. Or even in mobile, if you have the convenience of using the Chrome browser, then I feel Chrome would be more user friendly, especially when you're using a desktop or laptop. Okay, right. So we'll proceed then. Right. So now coming to the roof, as you can see here, the roof has been removed here, but roof is something which is present on the superficial aspect. We have this deep fascia, superficial, we have the skin, muscle platysma, we have superficial fascia and deep fascia. Deep fascia we have investing layer. So deep fascia we have 5 to 6 layers like investing layer, pretracheal, prevertebral, carotid sheet, buccopharyngeal fascia. So we have different layers in the deep fascia, right? So investing layer of deep fascia forms the roof of this posterior triangle. So if you observe the roof is formed by the investing layer of deep cervical fascia, and the superficial fascia of the posterior triangle contains platysma. right? So subcutaneous muscle platysma, external jugular vein and posterior external jugular vein, parts of supraclavicular, great auricular, transverse cutaneous, lesser occipital, and various arteries and lymph vessels. So you need not really worry, because all the things which I have read out, we'll be discussing them in the contents of posterior triangle, right? Yeah, and the most important aspect here is external jugular vein. So the surface markings of external jugular vein, like where you need to mark them, mark the points in order to identify the external jugular vein, and also we'll discuss the tributaries of external jugular vein and how exactly is this external jugular vein being formed, right? Yeah. Yeah, mobile is comparatively better than laptop. Laptop, even I have this problem of breaking, especially when I use the browser Safari. So Chrome again, when I use Chrome in laptop, it seems to be fine. Yeah, so now external jugular vein. So external jugular vein, as you can see here, a blue mark, a small blue mark here. I know it's not so prominent. So this is external jugular vein, which extends in this fashion. Okay, it crosses the sternocleidomastoid muscle obliquely, and it comes from the parotid gland, from the lower border of parotid gland in this fashion, right? So external jugular vein, it lies deep to platysma. It is formed by union of the posterior auricular vein. You have an auricle here, the posterior auricular vein and anterior division and the posterior division of retromandibular vein, right? So external jugular vein is formed by the union of posterior auricular vein with the posterior division of retromandibular vein. I'm sorry if I said anterior division. So we have this you have auricle here, posterior auricular vein, and retromandibular you have anterior division and posterior division. So the posterior division of retromandibular and the posterior auricular vein combine to form this external jugular vein. And it begins within the lower part of parotid, somewhere here, crosses the sternocleidomastoid muscle obliquely, and then pierces the antero-inferior angle of the posterior triangle. So this is antero-inferior angle, okay, and opens up into subclavian vein. Right. So external jugular vein, it lies deep to platysma. It's formed by union of posterior auricular vein and posterior division of retromandibular vein, crosses the sternocleidomastoid muscle obliquely, and then pierces the deep fascia at the level of antero-inferior angle. So we have this antero-inferior angle in the posterior triangle. So at this point it pierces into the fascia and then joins the subclavian vein. And as it pierces the fascia, the margins of vein get adherent to the fascia. And whenever there is cut in the vein doesn't close by itself, which can lead to prolonged bleeding, or there can be even entry of air leading to embolism, right? And for this reason, even the fascia has to be cut whenever there is any damage to vein at that level. If the fascia is cut, then the vein can get retracted and closed, right? So as it pierces the fascia, as external jugular vein pierces the fascia, the margins of the vein get adherent to the fascia at this level, and so if the vein gets cut, it cannot close and air enters into it and causes air embolism. And to prevent this, the deep fascia has to be cut. Okay? And the tributaries are those which form this particular external jugular vein. So the tributaries of external jugular vein include posterior external jugular vein, anterior jugular vein, and transverse cervical vein and supraclavicular vein. So we have transverse cervical vein, supraclavicular vein, and then you have anterior jugular and posterior jugular. So 4 tributaries have been mentioned for external jugular vein. So posterior external jugular, anterior jugular, transverse cervical, and suprascapular. And we have something called as oblique vein, which connects the external jugular vein with internal jugular vein across the middle 1/3 of the anterior border of sternocleidomastoid. So at the anterior border of sternocleidomastoid, in the middle 1/3, we have an oblique vein which connects the external jugular vein with the internal jugular vein. And surface marking of external jugular vein is very important. So we need to mark 2 points in order to trace this external jugular vein. So one point which is slightly below and behind the angle of mandible, that is somewhere here. So you mark one point here, okay, and the second point is marked behind the attachment process of the sternocleidomastoid muscle on the clavicle lateral to the attachment of sternocleidomastoid. So it's given that the vein is usually visible through skin, okay, and can be made more prominent by blowing with the mouth and nostrils closed. And it can be marked, if not visible, by joining the points, the first point a little below and behind the angle of mandible, and the second point on the clavicle just lateral to the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid. So in this area. So by marking these 2 points and by joining it, right, so we can evaluate or estimate the presence of external jugular vein in case it is absent, and this external jugular vein is traced and identified, and it's used for assessing the pressure in the right atrium, as there is no vein or there is no valve in the process of the attachment, right? So that's the reason why, as we have discussed in one of the videos previously in general medicine, so external jugular vein directly gives the pressure in right atrium. So external jugular vein is examined to assess the venous pressure, and the right atrial pressure is reflected in it because there are no valves in the entire course of this vein. Just make a note of this point, this is very important. Okay, the clinical aspect, clinical anatomy. So the external jugular vein is examined to assess the venous pressure, and the right atrial pressure is reflected in it because there are no valves in the entire course of this vein. Right, I hope it's clear, right? So far we have gone through the boundaries, brief introduction, boundaries, and the roof of the posterior triangle. And then we have the floor. So the floor is formed by the pre-tracheal layer of deep fascia. As I said, roof we have the superficial fascia and investing layer of deep fascia, whereas the floor is formed by the pre-tracheal layer, pre-vertebral layer. So we have pre-tracheal layer also, but it doesn't come in. Pre-vertebral layer of deep cervical fascia, covering the following muscles, which include splenius capitis. So this is splenius capitis, and this is levator scapulae, and we have this scalene anterior, scalene medius, and scalene posterior. So these group of muscles are covered on the floor by pre-vertebral layer of deep cervical fascia. So these are in brief about the roof and floor. I'll just hold on for 2 minutes. In case you have any difficulty in following what we're discussing, just let me know, okay? Anyways, I'll take a 5 to 10 minutes time at the end to briefly summarize all that we have discussed so far. Till the end of the session, and then we'll proceed with MCQ discussion. So I hope it is streaming fine. You still have any issues? So try restarting your app, or you can just use Google Chrome, right? Google Chrome, I think it's best for laptop or for desktop to view YouTube, because Safari and other browsers, I've noticed that it's breaking, or it's not really that friendly to play the videos. Posterior triangle, the lower third, we have this inferior belly of omohyoid, you can see here, this inferior belly of omohyoid. This smaller triangle is called a subclavian triangle, right? We can't call the entire posterior triangle as subclavian, only the smaller one is called as subclavian or supraclavicular, right? Supraclavicular, whereas this larger one is called as occipital triangle. Yeah, it's a smaller part of posterior triangle. Okay, right. So we just now proceed with the next part, that is the contents of posterior triangle, which is very, very important. Okay, so as you can see here, we have various contents. So the green represents the nerve, the red, solid red represents the blood vessel, Whereas these streaks of lines which are in red, they represent the muscle. Okay, since we don't have this brown marker, I have to use this red to mark or to streak the muscles. And then you have this blue color. So this is also blue. I'm not sure if it's visible for you. So this is also blue, right? So blue represents vein. Okay, that's how we are proceeding in today's discussion, right? So we'll just start with the identification of various parts or various contents here, right? So first of all, before going into the details, let me just briefly help you in identifying the structures which I have drawn here. So as you can see, this is clear, right? So we need not really elaborate on that. So here the green, we'll start with the green, which represents all the nerves, right? So if you observe here, this is the occiput, right? So occipital bone. So this is occipital artery, and this green represents greater occipital nerve. And this is greater occipital, and this is lesser occipital. And this is greater auricle. We have an auricle here, ear, right? So this represents greater auricular nerve, whereas this, which is proceeding anteriorly, that is anterior cutaneous nerve. And you can see three small branches here. These are present above the clavicle, hence they are called as supraclavicular nerves, right? So this is greater occipital nerve, and this is lesser occipital nerve. This is greater auricular nerve, and this is anterior cutaneous nerve, and these three are supraclavicular nerves. And then you can see some solid green lines here. So these are the trunks of brachial plexus. So this is the first trunk, upper, middle and lower. So first, second and third trunks, which are represented in green. And as I said, solid red represents blood vessel. We have occipital artery here, and we have this supraclavicular artery, and the other artery, you can see the small artery here. This is the middle third of subclavian artery, and this is suprascapular artery. So these are some of the arteries which I mentioned in this illustration. So this is suprascapular artery, and this is transcervical artery. Okay, there is nothing like supraclavicular. I'm sorry. So this is transcervical artery, the top one. Transcervical, as it is traversing the cervical or the neck, and this is suprascapular artery, suprascapular. And this small solid red represents the middle third of subclavian artery, right? And this is how you have, this is superior belly of omohyoid, and this will be the inferior belly of omohyoid. So that will be extending in this fashion, right? Inferior belly of omohyoid. And you can see these green lines here. So this represents, I think this is a spinal accessory, I guess. So this is 11th cranial nerve, spinal accessory. Okay, and these two green lines, they represent the nerves to the sternocleidomastoid and trapezius. So nerve supply, muscular nerve supply, the nerves innervating the trapezius, and then we have two of these nerves. Let me just cross check them. Yeah, nerve to subclavius and suprascapular nerve. So this is suprascapular nerve with suprascapular artery, and this is nerve to subclavius, right? So this is just for sake of understanding these illustrations. Anyways, we'll just proceed with the contents separately. And as you can see here, we have this clock. So we have various cutaneous nerves and various nerves arranged in different directions. So 12 o'clock position, we have this greater auricular nerve, which is oriented in this fashion. As you can see here, greater auricular nerve, and this will be lesser occipital nerve, as you can see here, right? So the same nerve innervation, it's being represented in a clock position. And here you have this anterior cutaneous nerve, and these three are supraclavicular nerves, and this one in 7 o'clock position, I think that represents spinal accessory nerve, right? So we have this 11th nerve, spinal accessory nerve, which is the motor nerve present in the posterior triangle. And also we have a small blue solid line which represents external jugular vein, right? So external jugular vein is present superficially, right? Yeah. So and also we have this muscle, so this is sternocleidomastoid and this is trapezius, and also we have this splenius capitis muscle. So this block is splenius capitis, and this represents levator scapulae. Scapular bone, the levator scapulae, and this is scalenus anterior, medius, and posterior. Right? So we'll just proceed with the contents as given in your textbook, and then we'll try to correlate the same in these illustrations. So coming to the nerves in occipital triangle. So first we'll divide, we have these two triangles, occipital triangle and we have this subclavian triangle, right? So in the occipital triangle, what are all the nerves which are present? So as you can see in the occipital triangle, we have this greater occipital, lesser occipital. So greater occipital is actually present outside the boundary limits, right? So hence it's not mentioned here in the list. So we have only lesser occipital. So greater occipital, it doesn't come under posterior triangle, just make a note of it, right? So as you can see, we have lesser occipital within the occipital triangle, lesser occipital, greater auricular, anterior cutaneous, and we have supraclavicular branches, right? So supraclavicular branches, and also we have the spinal accessory, and we have few innervations which are supplying the muscles of either trapezium or the muscles of sternocleidomastoid, and also we have something called as rhomboidus muscle which is present posteriorly, right? So we find these structures, and along with that we have the upper trunk or the first trunk of brachial plexus which are found in occipital triangle, right? So based on illustrations, it will be easy for us to visualize and to remember for a longer time. So as it's given, so occipital triangle contains spinal accessory nerve. So this is your spinal accessory nerve. It also contains 4 cutaneous branches of cervical plexus as we discussed here. So the branches include lesser occipital, greater auricular, anterior cutaneous, and supraclavicular nerves, right? So spinal accessory and these 4 cutaneous branches come under occipital triangle, the nerve contents of occipital triangle. And we have various muscular branches like 2 small branches which supply levator scapulae. So 2 small branches which are not represented here. So we have 2 branches to levator scapulae and 2 small branches which you can see supplying the trapezius muscle. Okay, and also we have another nerve to rhomboidus, right? So muscular branches to levator scapulae, rhomboidus, and 2 small branches of trapezius, right? And then you have this upper part of brachial plexus. So this is upper part, this is middle, and this is lower part. So the upper part of brachial plexus, the upper trunk, is also found in the occipital triangle. So these are the nerve contents of occipital triangle. Okay, and then coming to this supraclavicular or subclavian triangle, we have this, as you can see, the middle trunk. Even this upper trunk passes through this subclavian or supraclavicular triangle. So the supraclavicular triangle includes the 3 trunks of the brachial plexus, that is upper, middle, and lower trunk. And also we have various nerves to serratus anterior, subclavius, and suprascapular nerve. So along with these brachial plexus, we have nerve innervations to various muscles such as serratus anterior. Serratus anterior is found lateral to the chest, extending from the 1st rib to the 8th rib, and then attaching to the medial aspect of the scapula behind. So that is serratus anterior muscle, and this is supplied by a nerve which is present in the subclavian triangle. And also we have nerve to subclavius. So nerve to subclavius is a small triangle muscle which is found between the clavicle and the 1st rib. So almost at this location. So nerve to subclavius, and also suprascapular nerve. So these are some of the nerve components of subclavian triangle or supraclavicular triangle, right? Anyways, we'll try to summarize at the end before concluding. So that's pertaining to nerves which are found in the occipital triangle and the subclavian triangle. And then we'll proceed with the vessels. So vessels, it's comparatively easy. So in the occipital triangle, as you can see, we have occipital artery, and also we have this transverse cervical artery. So transverse cervical artery and the occipital artery come under occipital triangle. Whereas suprascapular artery, the 3rd part of subclavian artery, these come under subclavian triangle or supraclavicular triangle. So the vessels of occipital triangle include transverse cervical artery and occipital artery, whereas the vessels of subclavian triangle include third part of subclavian artery, suprascapular artery, as you can see here, and also commencement of transverse cervical artery. Commencement means the beginning. So the beginning part of transverse cervical artery is also present in subclavian triangle, and also lower part of external jugular vein. So we have external jugular vein, the lower part present within this subclavian triangle, and these are the vessel components of both occipital triangle as well as subclavian triangle. And lymph nodes, they are comparatively easy. So lymph nodes in the occipital triangle, they are mostly found along the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid, along the lower part, where you have this nodes associated with sternocleidomastoid, which are called as supraclavicular nodes. So we have supraclavicular nodes in these areas, and also we have few occipital nodes. So the lymph nodes of occipital triangle include occipital nodes and supraclavicular nodes, which are found along the posterior border of sternocleidomastoid muscle, along the lower border, most prominently towards the lower border. And then we have this subclavian triangle where a few members of supraclavicular chain lymph nodes are evident. Okay, so these are some of the nerves, vessels, and lymph nodes associated with these triangles, right? So also, as we discussed previously, along the floor covering these muscles, we have this prevertebral layer of deep fascia. So prevertebral layer of deep fascia covers the scalene anterior, and medius and posterior we have this levator scapulae, and then we have the upper muscle, that is splenius capitis. Right? I know these names are quite challenging to remember, but once you look at the diagrams and try to recite these names a couple of times, you will just have that feeling that you have this acquaintance with these names, and that itself will give you some confidence, right? So repeated revision, you can just master it, right? So repeatedly just reciting the names will help you gain some amount of confidence, right? And as one of you asked in one of the mails previously, like how to remember all this stuff, it's only by observing the diagrams and through repeated recitation and through repeated revisions. That's how we can master this stuff, right? So pictorial way of studying makes things comparatively very easy. Okay? Right. I'll just hold on for 2 minutes and then we'll proceed with summarization, right? And then we'll have this MCQ discussion. It's offline again. Any mnemonic? Nerves and all, at least for nerves, I just felt like subclavian triangle you can remember by the word or by the initial letters, that is B triple-S. So BSSS. Right? So we have, it just say that B stands for brachial plexus. So the nerves of subclavian triangle, B, S, S, and S. Let me just write down. So B stands for brachial plexus. So all three trunks of brachial plexus are found in subclavian triangle. S stands for nerve to serratus or serratus muscle, nerve to subclavian muscle, and nerve to or supraclavicular nerve. So B triple S, subclavian triangle. That's what I could find out. So regarding the other stuff, I didn't actually create or think of any mnemonic, because when I was preparing, it was like I was just observing the image and I was trying to create a mental picture of it, and then so that it facilitates during my revision or during going through that particular theory. Hashina, you say it's a miracle if it's working for you. Great. Yeah. So as such, see, the moment, it's really challenging to get mnemonics for all this stuff. Anyways, I'll try focus on getting as many mnemonics as possible. So far, I've focused on mnemonics couple of months ago, especially while dealing with pharmacology and microbiology. But later, my focus shifted slightly towards the other aspects of the academics, right? So again, just 1 month or 2 months before exam, from now at least I'll try focusing on mnemonics, and also will create as many mnemonics as possible, given the local language we have, like Hindi, English or something, as one of one of the live session, one person who attended live previously also gave us this mnemonic like tu jada mat kar, tu bakwas band kar, something like that, right? So we'll try to create as many mnemonics as possible. So by the way, tu jada bakwas mat kar is a mnemonic to remember various branches of facial nerve, right? So press answer in us. Regina, how to stop bleeding from A carotis? What is this A carotis? Yeah, tu jada bakwas mat kar. Okay. Yes, tying or ligating, even I do. If it is carotid artery, you mean to say, then it has to be ligating the artery, as far as I remember. Arterial carotis. Or carotid artery, you mean? Okay, right. So anyways, we'll just get back to that later, okay? Yeah. It's Russian arteria carotis, okay. Please use English words, okay? You're thinking like it's a different artery altogether. Okay, you learn in Latin. Great to hear that. So ligation, as far as I know, anyways, I'll just cross-check it and I'll let you know at the end of the session, right? Yeah. So posterior triangle. So we have a lot many important points here. The boundaries are very important, and most importantly, the contents. The contents are also very important. And in this context, we have this external jugular vein. So tributaries of external jugular vein and surface marking is also very, very important. So as you can see, we have this posterior triangle, which is found on the side of the neck, with anterior border being formed by the posterior margin of sternocleidomastoid, and the posterior boundary being formed by the anterior border of trapezius muscle. The superior being formed by the superior nuchal line, which is formed, we have this nuchal lines. So superior nuchal line where the trapezius and sternocleidomastoid meet, and then you have the inferior border or the base being formed by the clavicle, middle third of clavicle. So that's in brief the boundaries. And also, if you can observe here, so we have the superficial, we have the roof and floor. The roof being formed by the skin, platysma, superficial fascia, and investing layer of deep fascia, and also various muscles, nerves, and arteries. Right, all this come under, all the contents come under the roof. And floor, you have this muscles, splenius capitis. We have levator scapulae, scalene anterior, medius, and posterior, which are covered by prevertebral layer of deep fascia that forms the base. And if you observe here, we have an inferior belly of omohyoid, which divides the posterior triangle into a large upper occipital triangle and a small lower subclavian or supraclavicular triangle, right? And then, as I said, green, we're using green to represent nerves here. So coming to various parts here. So as you can see, we have greater occipital, which is not included in the contents of posterior triangle, right? So that's by the way of observation, right? So we have occipital artery here, greater occipital nerve, and this is lesser occipital nerve. So this is ascending or greater auricular nerve, and this is anterior cutaneous nerve, and these three small nerves are supraclavicular nerves. And then we have the spinal accessory nerve, and we have various nerves to muscles. So nerve innervations to muscles like sternocleidomastoid, trapezius, rhomboides, right? And also we have the first part of the upper trunk of brachial plexus, and these are some of the nerve components in the occipital triangle. And then in the subclavian triangle or in the supraclavicular triangle, we have these three trunks, that is brachial plexus, the upper, middle, and lower trunks are found in this subclavian triangle. And also we have nerves to serraceous muscle, subclavius muscle, and we have supraclavicular muscle, BSSS, right? That's the only thing which I found in this complex anatomy, so that I could easily remember the nerves to various muscles, right? And then you have, so that's pertaining to nerves, right? And as you can see, we have the vessels, occipital artery, suprascapular artery. So this is suprascapular, and the top one is transverse cervical artery, and this is third part of subclavian artery. And along the anterior-inferior angle of this posterior triangle, we have this external jugular vein piercing into the fascia, or else this external jugular vein extends from the, see, we have, as I mentioned before, so this external jugular vein is formed by the posterior auricular vein and the posterior division of retromandibular vein. From the inferior border of parotid, it comes out, traverses the sternocleidomastoid muscle obliquely, and then enters into the anteroinferior angle of posterior triangle, and then pierces the fascia where it is adherent with fascia. So if in case there is bleeding, it doesn't contract by itself. We need to cut the fascia to facilitate its contraction, or else there can be air embolism, right? And this external jugular vein joins the subclavian vein, and this is used for measuring the pressure in the right atrium, right? Venous pressure. So that's pertaining to external jugular vein, and these are some of the components as we have discussed so far. And right, anything we missed? So these muscles we already discussed, right? So let me just write down. So this is splenius capitis. This is levator scapulae. Scalene group of muscles, scalene medius. This is scalene posterior, and this is scalene anterior. Scalene group of muscles. Yeah. And also regarding lymph nodes, we have this supraclavicular group of lymph nodes, occipital nodes, right? Yeah, that's pertaining to the contents. And right, so we'll just proceed with MCQ's discussion, and then we will conclude the session. Okay, I'm just checking out whether we missed. And coming to tributaries of external jugular vein, so we have posterior external jugular vein, anterior jugular vein, suprascapular vein, and transverse cervical vein. Just make a note of these tributaries. And the surface marking of external jugular vein, one point below and behind the angle of mandible, the other point on the clavicle, posterior to the attachment of sternocleidomastoid muscle. Okay? And external jugular vein is examined to assess the venous pressure, and the right atrial pressure is reflected in it because there are no valves in its entire course. Yeah. So we'll just proceed with some MCQs, right? So we have a couple of multiple choice questions to discuss today. Hi Sadhana, very good evening. We know that what is that 10 zebra bit my cat? Okay, two Jada Bakwas Matkar, I think, yeah, they are the branches of facial, temporal, zygomatic, buccal, mandibular, and cervical. Thanks, Megha. And we know that what is the 10 zebras bit my cat? It's mnemonic for, can you please elaborate? Okay, talking about the same branches of facial, okay, fine, right, I got it. Thank you for sharing. So 10 zebras bit my cat. Cool. So Nidhi, you have this mnemonic for subclavian triangle. Yes, Abhishek, I got it. Thank you. Subclavian triangle BPSA sub. Okay, BP is brachial plexus, SA is serraceous anterior, sub is subclavian, sub is supra, clavicular. Okay, Nidhi, thank you. Right. You just give me 1 second. Hi Priya, we're just discussing about your mnemonic. तू ज़्यादा बकवास मत कर and you came online. Hi. I'm fine, Priya. Hope you're doing good. Thank you. Okay, Priya. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyways, thank you for joining us live today. So we're discussing this posterior triangle and anatomy of posterior triangle. So you have any mnemonics or anything to share pertaining to that, we will be glad. Right, so we have our first question. All of the following nerves are components of subclavian triangle except middle trunk of brachial plexus, nerve to subclavius, suprascapular nerve, and spinal accessory nerve. So which among the following is not a component of subclavian triangle? So all of the following nerves are components of subclavian triangle except. Exactly, Zina. So we're remembering Dr. Priya every day through that mnemonic. Okay, Zina, you say A, Abhishek says B, so rest of you say D. Yes, Prashanti. Hi Prashanti, so I think you're attending our live session for the first time. Glad to see that you're live. Yeah. Yes, Tanu, yes, Mini, Prithvi, Nidhi, Ramesh, Preeti, Bernice, Megha, Kritika, Vinoda, Shrish, Neetu. Hi Farheen. Right. So as we have discussed, so brachial plexus, 3 trunks, serraceous, anterior, subclavius, nerve to subclavius, and supraclavicular. Spinal accessory, which is something a component of occipital triangle but not subclavian triangle. So option B is the appropriate answer, right? Spinal accessory now. Oh, Prashanti, you're attending for the second time. Okay, glad to hear that. See that you attend every day. We have more or less live session every day. So try attending so that at least you will get some important key points pertaining to any topic which we are discussing, right? Okay, Bernice has created a mnemonic that is spoon glass, where spoon stands for spinal accessory, glass stands for 4 cutaneous branches of cervical plexus. Okay. So how can we correlate that glass 4 cutaneous branches? Okay, Bernice, try working on it and try to elaborate that if possible, right? Anyways, thank you, and good that you have come up with your own mnemonic. Okay, you couldn't make one for muscular branches. Yes, Prashanti, you're welcome. Right? So, yes, Fauzia, it's option D. So, all of the following nerves are components of subclavian triangle except. So, it is option D, spinal accessory nerve. So, we'll move on to the second question. Just for him, join leg, don't worry, right? You can just watch the recorded video. So it's a very brief video comparatively, just 30 minutes. So you can just watch the recorded video once it gets uploaded to YouTube. Okay, network problem. Right, the second question. Okay, Mega, for muscular can be rest. So the second question, the posterior triangle is subdivided by sternocleidomastoid, trapezius, anterior belly of omohyoid, none. So glasses for greater auricular, lesser occipital, anterior cutaneous nerve of neck, and supraclavicular nerve. Okay, good. And Mega, you say for muscular it can be rest. Yeah, trapezius, rhomboid. Okay, it's for sternocleidomastoid. It's not sternocleidomastoid. I think it's trapezius, rhomboidus muscle, and cross-shapers. Levator scapulae. So muscular branches, it's not sternocleidomastoid. We have nerve branches to muscles, the following muscles: levator scapulae, trapezius, and rhomboidus. So trapezius, rhomboidus is something which is behind, and also levator scapulae. So rhomboid, levator scapulae, RLTT. Okay. Yes, Mega, so try working on that. We'll see. Yeah, scapula. Levator scapulae, trapezius. Yeah, levator scapulae, trapezius, and rhomboid. Okay, I'll see if I can work out on mnemonic also, right? So the second question, posterior triangle is subdivided by sternocleidomastoid, trapezius, anterior belly of omohyoid, and none. Okay. Yes, Megha, later. Yeah. Glass, spoon, later. Later. Okay. So you see, we can create a context so that we can have fun here. So we have glass, we have spoon, and we have later. So I will use a spoon to mix the contents in a glass later. Something like that, okay? Right. So it's option D. So inferior belly. I said anterior belly. Yeah. Inferior belly of omohyoid divides the posterior triangle into a large upper occipital and a small lower subclavian triangle. Yeah. So option D is the appropriate answer. None. Yeah, exactly. We have to use less mnemonics or else everyone will be confused. Yeah. And also the challenge here is like for which topic which mnemonic is appropriate. See, we have a lot many mnemonics, but if I say we have to use a spoon to mix the contents in a glass later, so what, for which topic is this mnemonic for? So first we need to remember and we need to correlate the topic with the mnemonic, right? Or else at the end we'll remember this glass, spoon and later, but we'll forget to what topic this mnemonic is more appropriate. So that's the greater challenge we have now, right? So try correlating those three words with the occipital triangle. So how can you correlate? So that would make more sense. I hope you got what I'm trying to say. Yes, going by concept, based on observation, that's even more like strategically important, right? Yeah. Yeah, if you have skull, it's easy to remember. Anyways, I'll try getting a skull and also we'll discuss some osteology soon. Right. So I'll proceed with the third question. Thanks, Priya, for your inputs. So Priya, you're saying aim of the lecture is try not to make your teaching better and better, will make it more easy for our friends. Yeah, that's even my intention, Priya. Do you feel like I'm trying to practice my lectures here? No, not really. I don't have that intention because all that's done already. Way back in my post-graduation itself, we had a lot of practice, we had a lot of fun, and I never took it as a practice. It was like fun always interacting with students. So here my aim or objective is not to practice or make my teachings better than yesterday. So it's like create an environment where we can have more fun and take the subject in as simplified manner as possible. See, actually we're supposed to have a textbook discussion today, like reading of the textbook, and all of you will be looking at my face. So rather than that, I felt like if we can have this illustration, so that itself tells that my intention is to not improve my teaching, but my intention is to make it easy for you to learn. And also if you have any mnemonics, that would make it much better, right? So that's the reason why we have been discussing all this. Anyways, Priya, thank you for your comment, and I take it positively. And yes, definitely I will consider your suggestion also. Right, so we have our third question. Cutaneous branches of cervical plexus in occipital triangle include all except option A, supraclavicular, option B, anterior cutaneous nerve, option C, greater occipital nerve, option D, greater auricular nerve. So as we have discussed previously, so we have all the nerves which are mentioned in the options except greater occipital, right? So we have lesser occipital but not greater occipital. So it's good that you identified it well and make sure that you memorize it so that even at a later date you could answer the same question with same speed and with same confidence. Okay, good. S. Sahiti, Bernice, Pritikam, Prithvi, Ashina, Priti, Fazia, Shri, Shnidhi, Abhishek, Mini, Farheen, Any, hi Any, Mega, Pooja, Vinoda. Yes, you're all right, and it's glad to see that we have an unanimous answer here, right? So we'll have a fourth question. Yes, Regina and Neetu. Yes, Tanu, you're right. So fourth question, surface markings of external jugular vein include a point below and behind the angle of mandible, posterior third of clavicle anterior to trapezius, a point on clavicle lateral to posterior border of the sternocleidomastoid muscle SCM, and option D, both A and C. You also will have a few recorded videos on the same topics, right? So that we can cover more extensively the various topics in anatomy. Right, so by the way, you're giving option D. I think it is it streaming fine? It's breaking, I feel. Yeah. Yeah, it's offline momentarily for a few seconds, I reckon. Yeah, it's offline for only a few seconds, maybe for around 5 seconds. Just let me know if it is still, yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, right. Yes, it is option D. So point below and behind the angle of mandible, and a point on the clavicle just lateral to the posterior border of SCM. So we'll have a fifth question. So we have two statements here. Statement 1. And statement 2. Yeah, it is streaming now, fine. Yeah, right now it seems to be fine. Okay. So we have a fifth question. Two statements. Statement 1, the third part of subclavian artery is present in occipital triangle. Statement 2, supraclavicular triangle is also called as subclavian triangle. So statement 1 is true, 2 is false, 2 is false. Okay, we have these options, right? 1 is false, 2 is true. Both are true and both are false. Yeah, it's breaking in, it's breaking momentarily. Okay, anyways, I posted the question, right? You can just go through that. We'll just type the next question in the meantime. Okay, yeah, I think it's breaking. Yeah. Okay, so fifth question, statement 1, third part of subclavian artery and vein, they're present in subclavian triangle, right, but not occipital. So statement 1 is false, statement 2 is obviously true, right? So the first statement is false and the second statement is true, right? So we'll proceed with the sixth question then. So the final question, so we'll stop it here. Yeah. The sixth question is, floor and roof of posterior triangle are formed by option A, investing layer of deep cervical fascia and pretracheal layer of deep cervical fascia respectively. Option B, investing layer and prevertebral layer. Option C, pretracheal layer and prevertebral layer. Option D, prevertebral layer and investing layer respectively. So the floor and roof of posterior triangle contain or they are formed by which among the following options? Yes, Neetu, you say option B. Yes, Nidhi. Bernice and Nidhi, you say option D. Yes, Sahiti. Smart question. Okay. It becomes tough question before exam. The same thing if posed before exam or during exam, we feel like it's tough because we have a lot many to memorize and remember. But as I keep on saying, the best way is to make a note of these key points separately. So we have this customized notes, just put the heading posterior triangle, just make a note of these points and it will be like you can complete off revision within few minutes before exam, right? So that's the power of having a customized notes. Yeah. Yes, Shrish, yes, Mini, Preeti, Regina, Abhishek, Preetika, Neetu, Pooja, Megha. Okay, Neetu, you change your answer? Okay, it's option D. Right. So the floor and roof of posterior triangle are formed by the floor. It's formed by prevertebral layer, which cover the following group of muscles on the floor, and the roof includes, apart from skin, platysma, superficial fascia, it also is formed by the investing layer of deep cervical fascia, right? So option D is the right answer. S for heme, S for zero. Exactly, that's the point, Bernice. That's very, very important. So just make a note of these important points. See, entire session, if you can sum up, we'll have not more than 10 to 15 key points to remember. If you can just make a note of them, and if you can prepare this high-yield synopsis for yourself, not just someone giving. If I give notes to you, then it's of 0% value. Only once you go through the content and once you create it for yourself, then it's your notes. You will have better understanding of what you have written, and the moment, as Bernice you rightly pointed out, it takes very few minutes to complete a vast topic. So that's the power of having a customized notes, right? And good, Bernice, glad to hear that. So borders of posterior triangle, CT scan, clavicle, trapezius, sternocleidomastoid. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, anyways, see, that's the challenge here we have, Nidhi. It's not just the mnemonic. What you have done is good, but how do you link up this CT scan with posterior triangle? That's even more important, because ultimately, before exam, you will remember CT scan, but you will not know for which topic this is the right mnemonic for. So that's the challenge we have. So whenever you create or frame a mnemonic or share mnemonic with your friends, make sure that you link up the mnemonic to the topic. So how do you link CT scan with posterior triangle? Yeah, that's the challenge we have here. Right. So anyways, as I said before, so today was a quite challenging day for me, and it was good, like challenging. It's like you feel low, but at the same time, you at the end of the day, you'll have that sense of confidence and satisfaction once you can overcome any issue, right? So anyhow, so that's what I keep on saying constantly. Challenges, we need to face challenges, only then we become a better person today compared to our yesterday. So that's even more important. So if you feel like we should stay in a safe cocoon or in a safe zone, then we'll definitely have psychological breakdown whenever we come across any major challenge, right? So no matter what the scenario is, no matter what the situation is, just be ready to face any challenge in life and see that you move forward with hope and positivity. And as Bernice has rightly pointed out, so since this is a context, and I feel this is all relevant to each one of you who are attending these live sessions or watching these recorded videos, make sure that at least from now, see, it's never too late. Remember, if you feel like I haven't made any notes till now, so what's the point in making notes now? So that's the common question which I face from all of you, from most of you. So at least from now, have this customized notes, at least a small notes of this size, which is handy, one notes for one subject, something like that, or two subjects in one notes. Just put the heading posterior triangle and make a list of points, 5 to 10 or 15 depending upon the extent or the quantity or the amount of material which is present in that particular topic, right? And you revise it. It's like you preparing a customized notes for yourself. There's no point, like, see, once you are during the revision phase, 15 or 20 days before exam, this high-yield synopsis matters the most, right? So try giving due importance to it, at least from now, at least from this live session. If you're not making notes, it doesn't matter, okay? It's already done, so you need not really worry. But if you're not doing from now at least, then I can tell you that you will be landing yourself in trouble. So make notes, not elaborate points, just brief notes as we have been discussing, key points, right? So the nerves, all the names of the nerves in posterior triangle, just the important points, that's it. Boundaries, as one of you said, CT scan. So we have the boundaries, just name them. Anterior, we have the sternocleidomastoid, posterior trapezius. So it has to be simplified in a point format or in form of single statements, right? So that gives you a lot of confidence in the process. Even that's more important. It's not just giving you the information, but if you have the power to revise an entire topic in few minutes, so it gives you enormous confidence, right? Just give due attention and importance to this particular task, and I wish you all the very best, right? Regina, carotid artery, I'll just inquire. I'll just find out and I'll let you know if at all there is any cut to carotid artery. So what exactly can we do? Yeah, once the video is uploaded, I'll just drop the explanation in the description of the video. Okay, you can just check out the description of video tomorrow. So synopsis for big preparation, small notes for your videos. Yes, small notes for my videos, that's fine. But synopsis and video, and small notes. Even the small notes plays a bigger role in your preparation, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's another smart way to plan. If you're going through recorded videos or through these live sessions, you have a dedicated notes, something of this size, that would be of great help. Yes, Prithvi, so you're asking about next week's live session. We already have this preformed schedule, right? So we're just following that schedule and just checking out. Yeah, it's oral surgery and general surgery next week. So Prithvi, I hope you're happy now. Yes, Bernice has already given the answer, right? Thanks, Bernice. Yes, Priya, it's better way you should have your own notes. Exactly. Okay then, so we'll break here and we'll see you again tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Okay, so tomorrow make sure that you all in the live session will have a lot many MCQs related to anatomy. So this week let's get anatomized. So complete anatomy. So tomorrow morning 5 a.m. we'll have MCQs discussion, and day after tomorrow we'll have these image based questions from anatomy itself. And if possible, I'll not guarantee you, but I'll not promise you, but if possible tomorrow and day after tomorrow, even during the evening times. So based on the convenience and the time based on my schedule, I'll see to that if we can have additional live sessions, we'll have them tomorrow and day after tomorrow evenings as well. But morning live sessions 5 a.m. it will be happening as usual, right? So see you tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. again. So Spokoj Noch, Nochi, Shubhratri, good night, Shabba Khair. Yes, Priya. Regina was asking regarding like what if there is cut or bleeding from carotid artery? How do you control that bleeding? So that's the question she asked at the beginning of the session. Yes, Nidhi, anastomosis with anatomy. That's a good tagline. Maybe I could have used it, right? So anyways, I'll use it. I'll use it now. Thank you for giving me that. So it's anastomosis with anatomy. Yes, Prithvi, I'll just share the screenshots if you want in our update group. Yeah. Yeah, Ramesh has given something in Malayalam, so it's like very good to see. It's all round. It's all round. Your literature is all round. Yeah. Okay, right. Yeah, we'll break that. Bye. See you tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Take care. Amitabh Bachchan style, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it happens. See, you might have seen in yesterday's live session, right? I'm very poor in giving expressions, so don't expect me to give you some kind of this Bollywood style gestures, okay? Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Shubha Care, I've seen the Count Barega when I was maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I've seen that. Yeah. Okay, right. Bye.